Joe Labby says, hey, Bill. Hey, Joe. With all the violent rhetoric flying around Washington these days, Republicans have a gun to my head. If you oppose Obamacare, you're guilty of murder, hostage takers, bomb-throwing teabagger terrorists. Is it possible that the violent rhetoric has a tipping point? And, of course, the answer is it's not only possible, it's likely. I am really concerned about this. Mostly concerned about how one way it is, right? Sarah Palin has a map of congressional districts that she's targeting by putting little crosshairs over it, or, I don't even think they were like hunting crosshairs, really just more of a target thing. And people are screaming and the Democrats are yelling, and oh my God, they're calling for the death of these candidates. And it's all this is coming from the left, and all this hysteria is coming from the left. I was in the airport in Wisconsin. I think it was at Appleton. Might have been at Minneapolis. But I can't bear to listen to CNN, especially when the president's on. He's on all the time, and I was sitting behind the TV, so I didn't have to look at it. And I heard some Democratic congressman saying, you hate Obamacare because you hate Obama. You can't stand the fact that it's a black president. That's why you racist teabaggers are against it. And I'll just tell you what I would have said to him if I was in his place as an answer to your question for you, Joe. If I'd heard that man say that to my face, that Democratic representative, I guess he was part of the Democratic Black Caucus, because he had that air of, if you disagree with me, you're a racist. I would have said to him, basically, so you're not a man, right? You're not a man. And Barack Obama's not a man. None of you are men. None of you are people. None of you are real people, because we're treating you like real people. We're disagreeing with you on policy about things that we don't like that you propose. So if the definition of a racist is somebody who disagrees with a black man, then what you're basically saying is you're not man enough to have your own opinion. You're not man enough to face the criticism for having your own opinion. And you're certainly not man enough to defend your own position. So what you're basically doing is, you're basically saying that we will be right by definition, and anybody who disagrees with us is a racist. We're basically saying that we're just an undifferentiated blob of perfection, and that there's no way to criticize us as individual people, as individual men. You're a coward, is what you are. You're a coward and you're incompetent, and you know you can't win this argument on the basis of the facts. You know for an absolute fact that this thing is a giant train wreck, not just Obamacare, the whole damn thing. The whole damn thing is a catastrophe. The whole administration's a catastrophe, and you know it. And you know it. So, what can you do? What are you going to do? You're going to basically hide behind this forever? Do you expect the rest of the country to treat you and the rest of people who take this position as these little untouchable little 4-year-old children who you can't possibly criticize because you're going to start screaming and yelling and crying about how unfair it is? Grow the hell up, man. President Obama is an individual politician, and so are you. Criticizing the policies got nothing to do with his skin color. Why are you being such a crybaby? Why don't you be a man and accept the consequences for your actions? You've taken a political position. You're getting criticism for it. Respond like a man and not like a child. Can you do that, do you think? Is that beyond your ability? And it's true for all of these guys with these ad hominem attacks. I'm not even going to mention ad hominem attacks to people who don't know what ad or hominem means. It's pointless. It's a waste of my time. I'm just going to call them what they are. They're cowards and they're children. Man up. Be an adult. Face the consequences of your political actions and defend them as a man. Or don't. You chicken shit crybaby. One or the other. I'm over it. And no one has the guts to stand up and say it. Has the guts to just come up and say these things, just to stand up and say them. Because of the whole race thing, because we've been indoctrinated for 40 years now of this horrible crime that we've committed against people's great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfathers. So therefore, everything that they say has to be given to them on a silver platter, or else you're guilty of this horrific crime. I'm not guilty of that horrific crime. I didn't do it. I never had a slave in my life. And even if my father had held slaves, and even if I benefited and was a millionaire because of what my father did, it wouldn't reflect on me, because I'm not other people. And I think, I don't know, I'm so over it. I'm so over the whole thing that I'm just ready to just, hurl it back at them. They really don't know what else to do. And so I'm not going to give them the satisfaction of the win. I'm not going to look at my shoes and shuffle away and say, ooh, no. You want to call me a racist because I disagree with this god-awful, ruinous policy that is falling apart and on fire? It's like watching the Hindenburg come around. It's like being the guy on the ground running out of the Hindenburg. There's nothing but flaming wreckage and steel coming down on the ground. And what do we do about it? Nothing. We don't do anything. So, I'm just over it. And when these racists like Touré or whatever his name is on NBC start hustling this line, I'm basically going to call them out too. I'm just going to basically say to them, don't you have anything newer than this? Really? Honestly, is this the best thing you've got? Really? After 50 years or 60 years of white Americans bending over backwards to show you that they're not responsible for the crimes that their great-great-great-great-grandfathers committed, they're not responsible for the crimes their fathers committed. If they didn't do it, they didn't do it. To make up for people whose also great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfathers were held in slavery at a time when slavery was just the norm all around the world. Honestly, no, I'm done. I deal with people as individuals and as men and individual men and women, and that's why the black conservatives that I'm friends with, and I'm friends with them because I like them individually. I've met a few of them that I don't like individually. I'm not friends with those, but the ones who I do like individually, I'm friends with because they're good men and women, and I like them, and I'm proud to be in their company as individuals. That's how it works for us. And by the way, I was working on a show called Sunday Morning Shootout for 5 years. I was the editor on that show. I edited every show except for the last 3 or 4, I think, 180 episodes, done by two big liberals, Peter Bart and Peter Gruber, who I'm very fond of, by the way. I don't want to be mistaken on that. I liked them both very much. They were very kind to me. But basically, they would occasionally have like a black actor on the show, and to watch them deal with them with the kid gloves, and just as soon as they had a black guest on the show, everything turned into everything's just so kid gloves, and everything is so this and so. I have such deep respect for you, and I have such, it's the same kind of. That is the same kind of racism as assuming somebody is better or special or delicate because they're black is the same as assuming that they're ignorant or stupid or violent because they're black. It's racism. Stop it. We know who the racists are out there. The people who have made a plantation out of black people in this country. Those are the racists. That's the Democratic Party. They kept slaves on the plantation in the 1800s. And then after the Republicans liberated them, then by the time we got into the 1900s, they figured out a way to get them back on the plantation again. And that's what it is. The Democratic Party has black people on a vote plantation. They have to work 1 day every 2 years. That's the deal. And until we're ready to call that the deal, we're going to lose. So moving on.